um, you know, one thing I just cannot let them go through is just, in the last video I talked about the linear correlation, the obvious correlation that they do this manipulation. It's super obvious, right? But their job is to break me down and make me subscribe to them. As I'm saying that, they keep telling me how I'm drying out because they're radiating me. Obviously, this technology is not technology from the neighbor, right? Somebody next door might be doing this to me, but I know they're not the one doing this. Well, who's doing this to me is these entities experimenting on human beings, including children. So in every way they try to like escape reality. I'm not. And I know it's also meant to agitate me, but the reason why I repeat and say what I say over and over and over and over is because I get to see these people every once in a while. For me, I don't want them to even try to think that no. I will say that if this is because they're doing things to my throat. This is how this is my last words. Like, can you imagine how powerful those words are? Those words are just basically things that they've wanted to escape. And this is the dying man's last words. Okay. Let those be the last word I need to say. Every time they did, like earlier, they were bringing up what they made me experience when I was on an interview with this person who brought this baby, this little toddler, little baby, little adorable, chubby little girl. And the stimulations and they was disgusting. And then they're like, no, we mapped it to you as a child. Right? And my brain, like, they can turn it off and turn it on. They can do these things. I know it's them manipulating me. And I'm trying to make some food, and I'm thinking about the food, right? I'm like, oh, maybe this is not good for me because what they're doing to my body, I know is horrible. And somebody does, right? And usually when they do that, it's like, we just caught you with a thought that First of all, they are the one manipulating me to have those thoughts. But then my brain, they have these battles where I try to get my brain back to normal. I can't do anything. They're going to make me experience this, and they're going to make me feel, you felt like that when you were a child. They make me feel like what I'm experiencing is something I would experience if I was a child. I understand how illogical that is in the first place. But then it's like, no, we just mapped it to you as a child. Of course, I know it doesn't really make sense. But because in my brain, I experience they force me to experience, and to them, they try to make this logical. They try to create a battle. It's like, now we're mimicking something you felt when you were a kid. You understand how things don't even make sense. It's like talking to somebody in the mid-30s, like, we're making you think the way you think when you were like in middle school, when you just hit teenagehood. The grown man that you are now, the grown woman that you are now, in your 30s, in your almost 40s, we're making you think like a child, mapped it. This is truly what they try to make you accept. First of all, that's not even true. They're making you feel this like this in your memories. But on top of that, even the way they think is logical is nonsensical, right? So you understand that there's a correlation that they obviously may create this false reaction toward children. They do this pedophilia thing. This is what they do. They've been renowned for it. Then they go through the scripts and repetition to try to disorient you. Right? And they can't, I'm not going to let them subscribe to that because they obviously know that I know that they do the pedophilia type of torture. With me, they've been using different type of terminologies, like, we are this group of femme fatale feminists, and we're mapping your brain to think this way, and we're just clowns. And they're like, every time, like, they try to get this thing that just like, listen. And usually they like to do that when also I'm like zoning out, like completely going away, like my brain just, and then just like, where was I? I don't even know. So they do these things. But I'm like, okay, let me just say this. Target individual, I know that I will never be myself anymore. I know their job is to try to get you to accept these manipulations. Understand what I just said. They're saying what you're experiencing is something you experienced as a child. Now you see the perps that try to make you subscribe to this. You obviously see, even maybe it's the picture I take, but they at that point understand they are no longer trying to maintain logic. Their job, and I don't know if it's because they're financial incentive they're getting. I don't know or maybe it's because they're so compromised at this point that like, you got to make it work. You got to make sense to you. It's too late. You're already involved in this program like this. Make it work for yourself. Make it make sense to you. If you have to tell you that we mapped it to you to when he was a child, go ahead. Go ahead. Forget about the fact that no one do the pedophilia type of torture. You use that as a logic. If that makes you feel better and cope, block out the obviousness, the humiliation that you have to do whatever you need to. Talk about his torture. Maybe that's gonna make you feel better. Everything but the obviousness. That's this program is renowned to manipulate people in these pedophilia ways. He knows that, so figure it out. Oh no! If you think that is what's gonna make sense, that this 30-some-year-old is being rewired to think like a child, and that makes sense, coming from people who do this pedophilia type of torture and have the ability to manipulate the memories, and have the ability to manipulate your libido. And almost all target individuals are experiencing this. Okay, makes sense. Oh, talk about him as a child. When you're in a program that torture children sexually, makes sense to you. Makes sense. Yeah, repeat this thing. Yes, this is part of the script. So do whatever. I think that's what they're in right now. That's that point. Because I'm not subscriptive of it. Of course, I know this would then manipulate me to experience these things. But my brain is fading away. And so now they tell me how I'm gonna scream to disorient me, as if screaming is gonna change the fact that I'm saying that these people are bottom-feeders, pedophiles that torture even children. And this trash that will show her child, so not even her child, somebody else's child, her niece or something like that, to try to get these pedophilia things, would think that's a winner. Like, yeah, it's like you guys don't do the pedophilia type of torture, you guys are mimicking him when he's a child. You guys who don't do the pedophilia type of torture. And they're like, no, but remember what you did as a kid? It's like, yeah, remember what you guys do to kids? Okay, remember that you also do the pedophilia type of torture. Okay. So you're making this 30-some-year-old man be a child? Okay. And you're not manipulating your memories. You won't do that. Even though you have the ability to do that. Okay. And he's going to pay by you who work in a program that torture babies as young as your little niece. You'll flourish. The cowardice, no, you guys are the bravest, right? Oh, guess what too? Adding to everything else, those entities, your entities, your money, yeah. Why is there so many pedophiles in these agencies? Okay, yeah, we're adding up things here. You might say to him as a child, okay. This is the kind of logic these people have to make themselves think. Trash. And then they try to say, no, because you're not a citizen of this. What, really? Why is it like his validation comes from like American citizen? Or maybe Florida is not a citizen. It's not like a state of this. Or maybe Las Vegas is not. Everything. I've been validated. They talk about me as a kid and try to use, okay, that moment, what were you thinking when you were, it's like a child can do stupid things. I understand for you guys, you have to hold on to something to try to make it work. I mean, I'm listening to people who torture children. I mean, I've been super validated with the pedophilia type of torture. And on top of that, the entities, oh yes, yeah, they're doing a lot of mapping, on the government devices. No. I know you're making me experience these ways of thinking, and then try to say, no, that's how you used to think as a child. No, that's not how I used to think as a child. But no, even that thing makes no sense. You do this manipulation and force people to get these stimulations. I understand your incentives makes you having to do what you're supposed to do. Or the dry, like these kids, the 3-week-old who was getting rashes all over her body, thinking that there she was dying, and get all the issue. I rather suffocate like the 7-year-old autistic kid. I rather get sexual torture like the 3-4-year-old kids and 5-year-old, 3, 4, 5-year-old kids. I rather be blind like the 9-year-old child than do these nasty things that these people do, and then try to map it to you when you're a kid. Trust you're not mapping, you're manipulating me, and you're a bunch of pedophiles, and you're renowned for those manipulations. And you'll pay for involving yourself in this program that torture even babies, you fucking low lives. I'm sorry, my language. There is nothing more nasty. And on top of that, if they got even financial benefits to be involved in a program that could do this thing to children and make grown men and women to think in this disturbing ways. It's okay, enjoy your wealth. Enjoy whatever you get out of it. It's gonna come back. Some of them came back in front of me. So I'm not gonna let them live their fantasy. When did they I was like, yeah, okay, you nastiness in my brain, man, try to create these battles. And to those people who use their own children, they are the bottom feeders. They're the true trash. There's nothing worse than that. Using your child in this nastiness to create these nasty reactions, which are renowned to be done to others. Not them when they were children, them. So for me, my job, my purpose on earth right now is to make sure that they understand when did they come. After they're done being gods, remember,